Hey everybody, happy evening to you. Welcome to the Wicked Edge, and this is me, your favorite Wicked Wild Child, Tiffani-Beth. Tonight I have a really awesome show for you. It's the month of October, and what's better than the month of October than Halloween and everything that has to do with Halloween and murder and mystery and thriller, and I have got a great guest for you that entails all of that, along with a suave personality and a fantastic demeanor. His name is Dwight Kemper, and we're going to get to him in just a minute. He's awesome. We met him at RoverCon late last month, and such a fascinating, wonderful man. He's an author. He's a character actor. He does murder, mystery, all sorts of stuff, and he's just amazing, and I can't wait for you to hear everything about him. It's going to be phenomenal. Before we get to Mr. Kemper and all of his awesomeness, first I'm going to say, don't forget, on the 22nd, I'm going to have Glenn Allwood and Chris Mancini from Comedy Film Nerds. We're going to be talking about their new podcast documentary, Earbud. We're also going to be going over the worst and best horror movies of all time, a very favorite subject of mine. Also, don't forget, there's an awesome new children's book out by Dennis Gager. And you should go get it. It's Billy Rabbit's Halloween Adventure. It's great for ages from 0 to 5. You can get it on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. Go order the book. It's awesome. It's fun. It's got mystery in it. It's got adventure, and it even has a really awesome ending and characters you're just going to fall in love with. So that is Billy Rabbit's Halloween Adventure. And again, you can get it on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. Couple shout-out to our sponsors. First, psychic medium and clairvoyant Jackie Bowling. I have to tell you, not a huge fan of psychics. I'm really not. I have run into so many of them that couldn't tell the future if God himself gave it to them in a bucket, or even answer any questions from your past or anything. But let me tell you, Miss Bowling is really gifted. I had a reading from her, and she didn't ask me any questions. She didn't ask me anything. She didn't try to probe for any kind of information. As a matter of fact, she told me things that not a lot of people know, and I had only met her 3 seconds prior, and just very talented. And she does spirit cleansings, and she's just an amazing person. Not only that, but she's very warm, very kind, and she's very loving. And I highly recommend that you go to www.dtmwickedradio.com, click on the sponsor page, and scroll down to her Jackie Bowling Psychic Medium Clairvoyant banner page. Click on it, go to her website, contact her. If you have any questions, if you have anything you need that is supernatural, any questions about the future, she's the person to go to. So again, go to www.dtmwickedradio.com. Click on the sponsor page, scroll down to Jackie Bowling Psychic Clairvoyant, and email her today. Also, you always want to be healthier, inside and out. It's never, ever the wrong time to have a new, better you. So the Clearing Coaching Center is your place to go. Karen Kennedy is amazing. She's the most wonderful coach. She wants everybody to be healthier, to live a better life. As a matter of fact, she just wrote a book called The First Day of the Best Day of the Rest of Your Life. And it's awesome. You can also get that on Amazon and Kindle and Barnes & Noble and inside your bookstores. Don't forget that. Go to www.thecaringcoachingcenter.com. Look over her website. Email her, and guess what? You'll get a free 50-minute health history consultation. And what that will do will help her design a program to specifically meet your needs. If you want to lose weight, if you want to eat better, she'll even help you get your personal life in order. If that's what you need, that's what she'll do. Whatever you need, it's confidential, and it's just you and her, and it's for as long as you need it. So go to www.thecaringcoachingcenter.com and start a whole brand new life today. It's never, ever too late. Also, the Rolling Hills Asylum. Go to www.therollingHillsAsylum.com. It's in East Bethany, New York, right outside of Batavia. This place is a geographical anomaly. It's 10 minutes from everywhere and yet in the middle of nowhere. But it's full of history. It's full of mystery. It is fantastic. If you like the supernatural, you can go on a ghost hunt. If you love history, she has historical tours. It's taken care of by Sharon Coyle and her partner, Brad. And also, they have amazing events coming up with the Booth Brothers, who are often featured on Chiller. And then it will be at the end of the month. So it's www.therollingHillsAsylum.com. Go email Sharon for any questions. Go purchase tickets for ghost hunts, catches hunts, public hunts, or even a historical tour, or even tickets for her events. That's www.rollingHillsAsylum.com. So, my gosh, I feel like every day, every show, I have something more and more to add. But I need to hire some of these nurses for me. Oh, my goodness. So without further ado, I'd like to get our guest, Mr. Kemper. I met him, like I said, at Robocon, which is at the Roberson Museum and Science Center in Binghamton, New York, on Front Street. Such a fascinating gentleman, so full of character, so full of life, so full of charisma, and I just had to have him on my show. How are you, Mr. Kemper?
I'm fine, thank you, and I get my health by going to the gym 6 days a week and working out, so they're doing great. How's about yourself?
That's fabulous. I have not been to the gym, but I do get a lot of exercise by running my mouth and talking to a lot of people. The training coach is really great. She helps you get physically fit, too. But I see your pictures, and I love the fact that I see pictures of Mr. And I love how when he does go work out, he wears a different outfit each time of a superhero hero character.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sometimes I do bench presses as Superman, and I do squats as the Incredible Hulk. I have a Under Armour Hulk shirt and a purple singlet, and purple and green sneakers, which go really well with the green socks, and really inspires you to do the 320-pound deadlifts that I do. So.
320 pounds, holy bananas! That in itself is a mystery.
I even snarl when I do them. I go, oh!
So you really embrace not just the pain and gain of working out, but the character of the outfit of what you're wearing.
Well, but I'm an actor, so I have to dress the part. So I dress the part of somebody super strong, which is how I've managed to win 6 powerlifting awards and break state records and do all of that at all of the height of 5 feet 5 inches tall. And, so... Yes, it just inspires me to go above and beyond, as it were. So.
My goodness. You're such a man of awesome charisma and character, and there's so many layers to you. There's working out and superhero costumes, but you're also a character actor.
Yes,
how did you get involved in the character acting?
Well, it kind of runs in the family. My great-great-uncle is Charles Kemper, who actually started out as a one-reel comic back in the 1930s, and then he moved on to character parts in westerns, and he'd actually worked with John Wayne and a great many famous people. If you Google Charles Kemper actor, you'll find all sorts of interesting films that he's been in, and really big ones too. So I have that on my acting side. My literary side, my great aunt is Gertrude Stein, who is a wonderful and notorious lesbian. Who is so full of herself that she actually wrote the autobiography of her girlfriend so that she could talk about herself in as, sweeping, wonderful tones as she wanted to and not sound quite as big-headed as she actually was. And I so those sort of things run in my nature, too. I'm also got a broad personality, and I also like women, so I guess both of us share that sort of thing, too, so...
Well, it's what brings the family together, the love of women and the love of oneself.
That's true enough. So as far as actually how I got started in character acting, well, my mother took me to classes because I was interested in acting when I was very young. So I started really around 6 or 7 years old, but I was kind of weirder than the other kids because when they were asked to pantomime something, they would pantomime things like, I've got a doggy, or I'm in a car. Me, I was pantomiming, I'm Dr. Smith, and I'm going to change the course of the astrogator so I can go back to Earth, and the robot's trying to stop me. So nobody could actually guess what the heck I was doing. And then when I tried to explain it to the acting teacher, she said, Dr. what? Astro what? So... And then I got into, when I was in my teens, I was living in Houston, Texas, so I went to the comedy workshop, and I started doing stand-up comedy. But I did stand-up comedy in that I never memorized anything. I would type stuff, and I would bring it up, and I would read it off the piece of paper. But I would actually get laughs, and all the other comedians said, you should have things that are connected. These are just different jokes. I said, yes, but they're laughing at my jokes. So I was never very popular that way. But and then I got my first acting role. I was one of the refugees of the burning of Atlanta and I'm not joking, the musical version of Gone with the Wind, which was done at Theater Under the Stars in Houston, Texas, because it's at the Miller Outdoor Theater, and there are live horses on stage, and it's got songs like "Oh, where is my Bonnie, my dear old Southern belle," and it's such a bizarre experience that later in some movie or something they made a joke out of doing the musical version of Gone with the Wind. I said I was in that. So, in fact, I was writhing on the floor, keeping my legs and hands tucked in as though I had a stomach wound, just so the horses that were around me would not stomp on me. So, in fact, a very funny story about that. I overheard the director say to his producer, those horses are getting a little wild. I think we're going to have to drug them. I said, okay, I'll go get the horse drugs. And so, while you're rehearsing, people can sit in the bleachers and watch you rehearse. And so, I'm standing there, and there's a guy next to me, and and I just want to make conversation. I say, "Those are lovely horses, aren't they?" And the guy says, "Yes, they are." I said, and then trying to seem all interesting and everything, I said, "But I understand that they're going to have to drug those horses because they're a little too wild right now." And he says, "Well, they never told me anything about that." "Well, why would they tell you about that?" "I own those horses." "I have to go now, so if you'll excuse me."
You cause trouble for other people. Wonderful.
Yeah. I accidentally, I was too shy at first to undress in the big dressing room, so I found a little closet that I could undress in. It turned out to be Rhett Butler's dressing room. And the actor's knocking on the door trying to get in, so I'll be out in a minute. It was a disastrous time, but Of course, then the biggest part was, so when do we get paid? And then everybody started laughing. I said, well, why are you all laughing? Because we didn't get paid for the last play that we did. Okay. And it was funny, too, because they were taking measurements of my neck and my arms and and my chest, and I thought, I'm going to get some costume. And then I go there the first night of rehearsal, they pointed at a rack of clothes and said, see if there's anything over there that'll fit you.
So I guess making you feel like a real actor was not in their repertoire.
Apparently not, but that didn't stop me from, continuing. Now I've been in a couple of things. Not counting my murder mystery shows, I've done a lot of things for Michael Legge, who is a very talented director, and also the host of the Dungeon of Dr. Dreck's television show in Medway, Massachusetts, and he's done a number of interesting films. And I've been in Evan Strahl, which was his first serious film, because he usually does comedies, and I played Mr. Halsey, the handyman, and I'm the handyman of an allegedly haunted farmhouse, but I never see anything going on. So that was kind of interesting. And he gave me a toolbox, which was his dad's toolbox, and it was supposed to be my toolbox. And I said, Michael, there's nothing but wrenches in here, and they're all the same wrench. He said, yeah, I know. My dad, that's the only tools that he ever had. I said, but why are they all the same wrench? It doesn't make. All right, it doesn't matter, but it makes the thing terribly heavy. So that was interesting. We shot in a real farmhouse that had an actual history, and that was fun. And recently, he's got a new one coming out called The Brothers Dim, where I play the Great Catsby. And so I'm this psychic who is supposed to be sort of cat-like. So when I'm saying things, I talk in sort of a meow. I said, I am here to help solve your problem. I will now contact the great goddess Beth to see if she can help you. You know. So,
that sounds like an intricate character for your character acting.
Well, yes, I grew a beard for it. I grew a big bushy beard, and I put this gel in it that's called hair glue, so that I could make it come out on either side to look like a cat face. And I had a mustache at the time, and I used mustache wax to make them look like whiskers, and I did the same thing to my eyebrows, and then I took my hair and I brushed it up to look like cat ears. So I'm wearing that, and I'm wearing my purple tuxedo, so I look very mysterious and cat-like. And I think I have the most elaborate costume in the whole production, because Michael takes one look at me when I drive to his house, and he goes, "Oh my God, that's perfect." So now the fun part about that was, while I was wearing that costume, we had finished shooting, so we went to the most popular steakhouse that's not far from Michael's house for me to get some dinner, because I have to go back to Michael's house to shoot an episode of The Dungeon of Dr. Drek as Uncle Mess. So here I am in full cat regalia asking for a table, and I said, "Look, I know I look strange. I just shot a movie, so I haven't had time to get out of my costume, so this is it." So they seat me way in the back and out of the way of everybody, but we must have been visited by every single waitstaff person in the place, because one person brought our bread, another person filled our water glasses, another person brought the appetizer, another person brought... So that, because everybody must have been back there going, "You got to see this guy. He looks like a cat." So
you were very popular.
Yeah, I was, or at least an object of ridicule that everyone was. But they were tipped well, so they have no excuse. But I don't know who finally got it, or if they split it up amongst themselves. They did too. And then I went to Michael's house. I washed all that out of my hair, and then I put on my wig, and I put on my zombie makeup, and I was Uncle Mess. And I'm the character. Michael made that character up for me about 5 years ago to be a bit part in his Halloween special. And originally I was supposed to be like a mad scientist like Dr. Emmett Brown, but Dr. Drek already wears a lab coat and everything, so I thought we would look too much alike. So I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself look like Boris Karloff from the Thriller episode, The Incredible Dr. Markison, and I'm going to take a similar background, because my niece is supposed to be Mona the zombie cheerleader. So I'm a zombie too, so is Dr. Markison. So I come in and I'm wearing tweeds, and I make my face up to look like a dead person, and I've got a gray wig on, and I've also taken talcum powder and made it look like I'm all dusty, and I take some cobwebbing and I put it all over myself, and I'm Uncle Mess, and I start talking like this, and I have a brand new invention, which is the hurricane repeller. It works on the exact opposite frequency of the hurricane, and poof, the hurricane goes away. So that was my first time as Uncle Mess, and 1 year as Uncle Mess, I brought the ashes of my mother so that she could be on the show too. So her urn has bats on it and sort of roses and thorns and everything. And she was Mona's great Aunt Ashley. Oh. So the story that I came up with for that was great Aunt Ashley and another urn disappear, and they go off trick-or-treating, and there's a point where you see these two urns with signs on it. One says trick and one says treat, and they're going door to door, and then they come back and they have candy wrappers in their urns. So that was fun, because my mother actually introduced me to the idea of horror show hosts, and she woke me up like late at night when Frankenstein was on, and I got to see it. So now she actually, because she always liked watching Zachary, so now she is in a horror host show, and she even got credit as Gloria Kemper, 1926 to 2011. So, so I'm sure most people thought that was just a joke, but no, her ashes were really in that urn.
You know, it reminded me of, I can't remember what actor it was, but when he passed, it was in his will that he wanted his skull, his head boiled so his skull could be used in Macbeth over in Europe. And a lot of people don't know that when they watch Macbeth over in Europe, that it's not just a prop skull, it's a real skull of a very famous, I think, can't remember, if he's an actor and an author. Maybe he's both. He's saying it because I can't remember his name. But that kind of reminds me of that. Like, people were going, oh, wow, that skull looks so real. Well, because it is. Yeah. That's so interesting. So that is so cool. You have done so much, and you really get into it. I love that. You really get into each character, each role that you play, and the fact that, you know, even though, you know, your loved one is passed, you still made them a part of something they love. That is awesome.
She was actually quite of a shut-in when she was alive. So she's done more dead than she ever has alive. We even took her out on Mother's Day dinner one year. My ex-wife took her mom out, and I took my mom out, and I put her urn opposite me, and there's her mother opposite us. And then as they're serving us and they're seeing the urn, Kathy, my ex, goes to the bathroom, and she hears the waitstaff going, do you think there's really ashes in there? I said, I'm not going to go over there and find out. So now the waitress was getting kind of snarky with us, so not that we actually did it, but I suggested to Kathy, why don't we put their tip in the urn? It says, it's on my mother, so you can open that up and get your tip.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That would have definitely been like, you know, they'd be like, oh, no, it's on us. I can get it. Almost guaranteed, like, that's okay, I don't need a tip.
Yep, so that's, like I said, she's done more dead than she has alive at this point. And, yes, so, next question.
No, that's interesting. So, you're also a writer.
Yes, I am. I started out writing my mystery shows. In fact, I've been writing all my life. I started writing when I was 8 years old. I wasn't a very good speller, but I was a writer, and I had this idea that if I was a child and I wrote children's books, I would get published, because who would know better about writing children's books than a child? Unfortunately, no publisher actually had that particular point of view as well. So I collected a lot of rejection slips.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah, but actually, I didn't get published until, what was it, 2009, 2010? When did Who Framed Boris Karloff come out? I don't know. You look it up on Amazon. But we're up for a Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Award from the Monster Kid message board community. So never did win one, because they put my book in the category where even nonfiction books could go into. So, I was up against things like Colors of Lights and Shadows, which is this big book about an Italian film director, and it's like, I'm obviously not going to win against that. But at least as anyone who hasn't won an Oscar said, it was an honor just to be nominated. Although I began to feel that I was the Susan Lucci of the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Awards, because I was always nominated and never won one. So
if that's the truth, then it won't be long until you actually win one, because she finally won a couple. So,
well, God darn it, there's no excuse. I should win one now. Well, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, the books that I write, they're murder mysteries that take place on classic horror film sets. So Who Framed Boris Karloff takes place on the set of Son of Frankenstein, and his daughter Sarah Karloff, I told her about my idea for the book, and she was actually laid up from gallbladder surgery, and was kind of bored. So I would email her the pages as I was writing them, and she would make comments about whether or not her dad would say this particular thing or act this particular way. And every time I would have something happen at the end of the chapter, she says, I'm hooked. When am I going to get the next chapter? So that was very encouraging. So she even wrote a nice intro for it. So that's Basil Rathbone, Bela Lugosi, and Boris Karloff tried to solve a Hollywood murder mystery, and at the same time you'll learn about how they made Son of Frankenstein. As a matter
now, why that approach? Why those type of subjects and that approach for books?
Well, because I am a monster kid. Like I say, my mother introduced me to Universal monsters when I was very young. In fact, I think I started seeing Frankenstein at 6. And what was great about that was I had apparently short-term memory loss because I would forget that I had seen Frankenstein. So every time my mom said, Frankenstein is on, I said, I've never seen this thing. You just saw it 2 months ago. I said, okay. So it was like I was watching the movie all over again. So it would be great, and I would get scared, but it was a fun kind of scared. So, and I just loved The Bride of Frankenstein. That was just the best one, and then Son of Frankenstein. In fact, I remember I think it was on WOR that they had these afternoon movies, so they would show the same movie on in the afternoon after school every day for a whole week. So if you were lucky enough and they were showing like House of Frankenstein, you would see House of Frankenstein for 5 straight days. This is in the 60s before you had VCRs and things. So yeah, you could watch the movie every single day. So that was just great. So so that's the thing that I love the most. And most of my books started out as mystery plays that are full of audience participation, and then I adapted them to novels. And, of course, the story's completely changed as a result because there's 2 different mediums and such. So that's the thing that I was interested in the most. And I also like old Hollywood. So Bela Lugosi in The House of Doom is actually a spy thriller that takes place on the set of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And for that one, a number of people, including Ron Palumbo and can't remember the other fellow's name right now. It escapes me. But anyway, they wrote Abbott and Costello in Hollywood. And they gave me all kinds of access to the notes that they had about the making of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. In fact, I think it was Ron who invited me up to his house in New Jersey so that I could not only look at the actual file so that I knew who was on the set that particular day, who was late on the set that particular day, what props were used on that set that particular day, but he also had all the outtakes from the movie with the clapper board, so I knew which take was the first take, the second take, the third take, the fourth take. So that was a very informative weekend. So that book is just filled with things that I did not know, like the lake that they were filming the final scene where the monster's throwing things at Lou Costello and Bud Abbott as they're trying to pull away in the boat. That was actually shot on Lubin Lake, so which was actually named after Arthur Lubin, who did all the Francis the Talking Mule pictures and was later responsible for Mr. Ed. So there's all sorts of nice little tidbits like that in it. And another fellow whose name escapes me, but who wrote Boris Karloff, More Than a Monster, he sent me his notes on Karloff's family because I needed to know what his brothers did, and it turned out one of the brothers worked in civil service, and so I made him a secret agent. So a lot of real people and a fictional mystery spy thriller written. I basically wrote a James Bond story from people who are outside of what's going on in the James Bond story. It's like, so it was really that was a fun book to write. And then The Vampire's Tomb Mystery, that takes place during the making of Plan 9 from Outer Space. And originally it took place at Bela Lugosi's funeral, but Bela Lugosi Jr., who I was assured by my publisher knew about the other 2 books and proved me using his dad, apparently had never heard anything about these other 2 books. So I had to contact him personally and say, well, I was under the impression that you knew about this. And so even though I got assurances from him that it was okay verbally to use his dad in the third book. My publisher wanted it in writing, which he wouldn't do. So I had to take that book to another publisher, and I changed 2 names in it because the other publisher wanted the same thing. In fact, Bear Manor Meter also wanted the same thing. So, I mean, at every turn I needed to change the name. So I chose Armand Tesla, and I chose that because when Bela Lugosi did this vampire movie for Columbia Pictures, Return of the Vampire, it was basically Dracula. He looked like Dracula. Everybody acted like people in Dracula, but his name wasn't Dracula. He was Armand Tesla. So I figured if Columbia Pictures can change the name of Dracula for legal reasons to Armand Tesla, then I will change Bela Lugosi's name to Armand Tesla for legal reasons. And he also had a young fan at that period in his life, and I changed his name to Andreas Orby because this was the name of the werewolf servant of Armand Tesla. So I figured if you're familiar with these films, you'll get the joke. And in case you didn't, I actually mentioned it in the opening introduction as to what's going on. So a certain Hungarian actor is not in this book. This guy looks like, you and I know it's that Hungarian actor, but for legal reasons, it's not that Hungarian actor. It is Armand Tesla. So, and just to drive the point home, I have quotes from all of Bela Lugosi's movies that are being that are being attributed to Armand Tesla. So,
wow, that is so cool. Like, I just listening to you talk about everything, like, I just have to read these books. All the information that you got and everything that you put into it, like, so awesome and interesting and, like, fun.
Yeah, so at the back of the books there are also sections that tell you what's real and what isn't. So if you want to learn about stuff, you can from these books, which you can actually get at Amazon.com. Oldies.com actually carries the first 2, Who Framed Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi in the House of Doom. And both BarnesandNoble.com and Amazon.com carry the Vampire's Tomb Mystery, which you can also get on Nook and Kindle. So I also illustrated the other 2 books. The first one was done, had collages by Susan Spela, who's the editor, and the other 2 books, House of Doom and Vampire's Tomb Mystery, I did the illustrations for them. And the approach that I took to the illustrations, way back when in the 40s, Pitnam Publishing did these mystery books that starred Hollywood stars in them. And I have a couple of them, and one of them has to do with Ava Gardner and the Haunted Lighthouse. And there's also Judy Garland and the Hoodoo Dress Mystery. Now, the funny thing is, if you look through the books, the pictures are of these stars. So you actually see a teenage Judy Garland in this thing, and you see Ava Gardner, but if you're reading the book, even though it uses their names, it mentions nothing about their Hollywood career. Like Ava Gardner's a secretary, and so apparently what they did was they bought manuscripts of regular mysteries and just substituted the names of the heroine for actors. So, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to do one of these books and use actual actors. So, in fact, some people say that it's sort of like a ripoff of the Toby Peters mysteries, but no, it is not. No. There is no, because the Toby Peters mysteries have the actors, but the actors are, suspects, and Toby Peters solves the case. But in my books, the detectives are the actors, because Basil Rathbone was a spy in World War I, so he actually would have the wherewithal, especially after coming off of doing Sherlock Holmes, to actually solving a mystery. So he was able to do that. And Bela Lugosi, in my first book, thinks that he's a better detective than Basil Rathbone. So naturally, in the second book, he wants an opportunity to show that he's a better detective and to find out who's causing these fires on the set of Abbott and Costello v. Frankenstein. So, and in the last book, my detectives are Criswell, who was this psychic who, if you talk to him, he would say, I'm not really a psychic. You know, this is just an act that I do. But everybody else was convinced that he was a psychic, including Mae West, of all people. Mae West just lived by his, you know, his pontifications and prognostications, and, you know, but if you asked him, he would say, I'm just an entertainer, that's all I am. And his assistant, his Watson in that, is Forrest J. Ackerman, who published Famous Monsters of Filmland and was actually the first rabid science fiction and horror fan ever, and he's the one who first started conventions with Ray Bradbury, of all people. And so Ray Bradbury's in my book, too, and I was able to get a lot of help from, again, I just should remember people's names, but I'm kind of blanking out on them right now. But this fellow knew him, and he would tell me what Forey would probably say in this particular situation. He gave me a list of some of his best wisecracks, and I inserted them into the thing. Like, he would say things like, see you on the merry-go-round, and if he wanted to, at one time, he had all these science fiction and horror books. I mean, he had hundreds of them, and somebody once asked him, have you read all of these books? And he says, yes, I have, every last word. So what he would do is when he'd buy a book, he would look at the last page and he would read the last word on it. And that way he could say truthfully that he's read those books, every last word. So,
that's clever.
And what's interesting about that is that Edward D. Wood Jr. tried to get him to be his literary agent. And for years, Forey would lament, I wish I had kept that manuscript. It's probably worth a ton of money now, but at the time it was a piece of crap. And originally when I wrote a scene with him, I had him being, you know, very forthright and saying, you know, you're a terrible writer, I would never do this. And the person who knew him said, no, he would not do that. What he would do is he would make you think that he's complimenting you, but really he's putting you down, but he's doing it in such a way that you actually think he's giving you a compliment. So I had to rewrite his dialogue to do that. And so I have him saying, well, let me put it to you this way, Ed. You're as great a writer as you are a director.
Oh, no.
So,
that's not a very good thing.
Yeah. So, yes, you can get these books that, if you Google my name, Dwight Kemper, you'll get all sorts of links and all the pages and the IMDb's and all of that, as you would know yourself, as you've probably already done that.
I have, as a matter of fact. We actually only have a few minutes. I really want you to talk about, really quickly, your murder mystery events and where people can find them, and do you have any coming up? Can people actually hire you to do them?
Yes, they can. They can hire me. I have Murder for Hire, which is your official murder mystery dead quarters, and you can find me at www.murdermysterytheater, theater spelled with an ER at the end, .com, murdermysterytheater.com, and there is a possibility that I might be doing it at a couple of conventions. They're talking to me about it. So when they materialize, you can also friend me on Facebook at Dwight Kemper, and if there's an event coming up, I will post things there too. So all sorts of things. But I will leave you with this very quick story. Just a very quick story. I was at Monster Bash this past weekend, and I was asked to do an audience participation thing, being one of the revelers for the Mask of the Red Death, and I started doing my reveling, and all the other audience people that were brought up were just standing there, and I thought, well, I don't know what they were going to do, but I'm going to revel. So I started weaving in and out between them and dancing around them and mocking them, and and just doing and afterwards the women of Hammer Horror who were there all complimented me afterwards, saying, I saw what you did. You really put your soul into that. And so I've actually gotten compliments from the women who were in Dracula movies with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. So I can't get better than that.
That is so awesome. Really quick, where can people find you again? Where can people find your book?
Okay, you can find my books at Amazon.com, oldies.com, That's OLDIES.com. You can find some of them at barnesandnoble.com. Or you could just type in my name in Google, and it'll give you all sorts of things. And if you want to get a copy from me, I only have copies of Who Framed Boris Karloff. I have 200 of them, so do write me. I would like to get rid of some of these. I will actually autograph them for you, and you can email me at mystery@murdermysterytheater with an ER at the end .com. And I will be more than happy, pay $20 and tell me what you want in the book and what your name is, and I'll ship that right off to you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm definitely going to have you on again because there was so much more I wanted to talk about. We'll make sure that everybody knows where to find you and how to get there. And you've been nothing but awesome, and you have an open door on the Wicked Edge anytime. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you at RobertCon, and it was a pleasure talking with you here.
It was a pleasure meeting you at RobertCon. It was a pleasure talking to you here, and I'm sure we'll see each other again.
Yes, and I will say to you what I say to all my mystery guests, may all of your crimes be perfect ones.
And we're going to end on that note. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
And